Hello. Oh, I need to get this to balance. Balance. I feel like that's crooked. A minute of this is just gonna be me getting the hammer right. Okay, let's hope that's good. I'm getting over a little bit of something. I'm actually sounding much better and not coughing as much, surprisingly. Yeah, so it's like 9:49 on a Monday. It's August 4th. So I'm in my bedtime get up, put the acne treatment on, put on my moisturizer, put the bonnet on, mainly because my hair looked crazy. There's not that many options, and my sweatshirt with the hood is currently soaking in water to be washed tomorrow. So this is what we're getting. But I meant to record an episode. I've been watching too much Netflix. I meant to record a blog post or do something of the sort for the blog while I was gone last week, and I forgot. So, well, I didn't forget. I just didn't feel like it. It's kind of one of those things that I just wasn't feeling, and so I wasn't gonna force myself to do it. I feel like I've had this. We've had this discussion. I'm not gonna rehash that, but yeah, I was just journaling before bed, and I was just kind of like, I'm in a chatty mood. Well, not like a chatty mood, but like, yeah, it doesn't matter. So maybe I'll drink some water. Maybe that'll help. Everyone like my water bottle? I lost my Hydro Flask on the way to a trip. Had all my stickers on it. Back in April when I was in Cape Town, it got dumped out of a bag into our private driver's car. And I didn't realize until I was on the airplane. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't actually remember the last time I recorded anything. It was sometime end of June, beginning of July, I think. Somewhere around then. But like I said, it's August now. Yay. If anyone's wondering, there's officially like a 4-month countdown until I'm done with Peace Corps around then. Around the beginning of December-ish. I won't be home probably till Christmas time. But yeah. Let's see. I went to Zanzibar with friends right after school ended in June. And then from then until about 2 weeks ago, I was just chilling in Lesotho by myself, seeing friends. A bunch of us met up for the 4th of July in a couple towns over. And yeah, I've just been spending a lot of time with people that I love and people that make me happy, stuff like that. So it's been nice. But the last few weeks I've spent them with my boyfriend and one of his friends from the States who was making his way back home. And so he made this his last stop. And so that was really fun. We got to show him around Lesotho, go up to Mohotlong. They got to spend some time in my village, met up some more friends down south, and went on a really cool hike to one of the waterfalls. Like if you look up Lesotho, there's this waterfall that pops up. It's called Malatsinyane Falls, but it's in Simonkong. And so we got to do that with 2 of our other friends. And then I actually got to see a new district because from there we drove to Durban. And the fastest way out from where we were is through a district, Kacha's Neck, which I haven't been to yet. Or I've been to now, but that was kind of cool. We were only there for like 2 hours. Basically, we just grabbed lunch, dropped off our friends, and kept it moving. But that was really fun. Then I spent some time in a few days in Durban, and then a few days in Cape Town. And yeah, it was just really fun. It was fun, like, meeting someone. Because obviously when you meet people here, whether, like, it's your boyfriend or a friend or whoever it is, your girlfriend, whatever, you only know who they are here. Like, you hear about their life at home, and, like, you may like talk to their friend on the phone or talk to their parent on the phone or follow each other on Instagram or whatever, but you never know how, like, who you're actually going to meet or how long it'll be until you meet them. And so it was really fun, like, meeting one of his friends. They've been friends since like 4th grade. And And so it was really fun meeting someone who's known him for such a huge chunk of his life, you know? So that was really fun. And yeah, it was also just kind of cool meeting a new person. I feel like over the last 2 years, I haven't met anybody new, so to speak. Like obviously once I got here, I met a lot of new people in a very short period of time. But yeah, it was just fun like meeting someone new and kind of like breaking out some of my social skills again. So yeah, that was fun. I'm sorry, I keep saying I apologize, Mom. And like I don't feel like I say like I used to, but I think I just said it 4 times. But it's a big issue. But as well, I feel like. Anyways, it was fun. I really enjoyed this time around in Durban and Cape Town. I mean, Durban, every time I've gone, has been very chill no matter what. But in Cape Town, I feel like I've been there with not a huge group, obviously, but a few more people. And for some of us, it was our first time or our second time and whatever. We're just going and doing and trying to see a lot of things. And I feel like I spent the last week and a half in South Africa being very chill and not doing much. Like there was a whole day where I literally didn't even leave the area that I was like staying in. Like I literally didn't leave the street that I was on. And I got my money's worth on Airbnb, that's for sure. But it was really nice. And I've never stayed in, well, okay, I have once, but for the most part, I've never actually, like for some of the traveling I've done and like seeing new places and whatever, not that I've done that much, but I've never actually stayed in an Airbnb or like a hotel or anything like that by myself. I can think of 2 times. One of them was when I went to the UK right before I came to Lesotho. I spent 1 night in the town that I studied abroad in, at an Airbnb that we found when I was living there for those 7 months. And then when we were coming to Lesotho, we were in Philly for 3 days and we all had hotel rooms to ourselves. But other than that, like I've never stayed really in a place by myself like I did when I was in Durban and Cape Town. And I mean, in Durban, it was my 3rd time staying at that place. I'm very comfortable with the host and her son, and they're really, really sweet. And it was so nice catching up with them. But like in Cape Town, I was in a new place. I was in a similar area, like I was familiar with the area, but it was just a new environment in terms of like where I was staying, and I was by myself. So yeah, I don't know, it was really interesting. And it was very nice, especially because it was meant to be a very relaxing time and a time where I was supposed to be getting work done, because I think I said this in my last one, but I'm starting the process of applying for Teach for America. So yeah, I didn't spend as much time as I should have, but I did spend time on it, worked on it with help of my mother, my wonderful mother, and Miss Pope. Thank you. I finished my application and sent it in over the weekend, which is really exciting. Nerve-wracking, but really exciting. Nerve-wracking, somewhere around there. But it's nice to have it over with. Today was the first day of school, so the goal was applications opened on August 1st. So I wanted to have as much done before then. So basically, as soon as application opened, I could just put everything in, upload what I needed to, fill in any like information that was needed, and then just submit it as soon as possible. I wanted to get it done, out of the way. I didn't want to constantly worry about it. And I think more because it's not something that I can just work on every day here. I prefer to write those kinds of things and work on those kinds of things on my laptop, and my laptop is on its last legs. And so it needs to be plugged in basically to use it. And obviously I don't have Wi-Fi and electricity out here and all those things. So it was nice I wanted to use staying somewhere with all the connection things that I needed to my advantage in order to complete that, which I did. So that's good. But now I have to wait 7 weeks because for the first cycle, applications don't close until September 15th. And I don't find out until September 22nd if I actually got an interview or not. So now it's just a waiting game, which is fine. I kind of knew I was getting myself into that, but now it's like, it's done. And now it's just waiting. So, yeah. Just crossing my fingers for that one. I don't really have much other to say on that. So I personally think that I'm a good candidate. And I know that I could learn a lot from it, and I could also bring a lot to a classroom and teaching, and it is something that I want to do, but you don't always get everything you want. So um I'm still obviously hoping for the best because currently that is my plan. But there's plenty of other it's what's nice about it is that I did apply in the first cycle. So if I find out on September 22nd that like I don't get an interview, I still have time to apply to grad school or try and find a job or do things. There's options if things don't turn out exactly how I want them to. So, yeah. But today was the first day of school. It was really great. I think I've talked about this in other posts, but I teach with a counterpart. So, there's typically 4 subjects for grade 4 learners. There's English, numeracy, which is math, and then Sesotho, which is the native language, and then IP, which is integrated part. So, it's like life skills like scooped in with like electives and a little bit of like history and stuff like that. So there's some science thrown in there. There's a bunch of other things because then when you get to grade 5, 6, and 7, and obviously high school, they start to split it up into like the different subjects, just as how I feel like a lot of systems are throughout the U.S. But yeah, it's a little different for grade 1 through 4. But I teach math and English. But today, well, I didn't teach the Sesotho integrated part by any means today, but today my counterpart wasn't at school because she also has 2 daughters, and she was taking one of her daughters to school today. Who goes to so there's some high schools here that are more like boarding schools. And so sometimes it can get tricky when a lot of teachers also have families themselves, so that can be a little tricky. But so it's just me and the kids today. Sometimes I feel like, especially as the year goes on, that can feel a little bit more overwhelming or exhausting just because it is hard. I actually talked about this in my Teacher America application, but it can be hard to sometimes manage a classroom with kids whose English varies and whose respect for you also varies. And so because it was the first day of school after like a 2-month break, I think it was a lot easier. My patience is sky high at the moment, so it's a lot easier for me to roll with some of those punches. But ask me in 2 months, 3 months, I might feel a little bit differently. But I think that's just life. Every day is a little different, and you wake up in different moods, all the things. But it was really nice actually because I got to then spend all day fully diving into English and math topics. And I didn't have to rush or make sure that it just gave me more time to even focus on the kids that it might take them a little bit longer. I just had all the time in the world, basically. So I basically spent all morning. Usually how it goes anyways is the morning is my teacher does one lesson and I do English and then my spelling quiz and then we have lunch. And then in the afternoon, I do a lesson and she does her lesson, or I do my math lesson and she does a lesson. The order kind of changes a little bit, but usually she teaches, I do English, spelling quiz, because they have spelling words every week. And so we do a spelling quiz every day. I don't mark it every day, but I give it to them. We go over the words, how they're spelled. Typically, I try and mark just at the end of the week, but if they're not paying as much attention or they're not fixing the words like I recommend they do, so they get the correct spelling, I will mark them so I know that they have more, not that they feel pressured, but there's more of an obligation to make sure that they're paying attention and fixing their work and all those things. So, but anyways, and then, yeah, usually after lunch, it just kind of depends. If she's in a meeting or she's talking to another teacher, I'll just pick up after lunch, but just all kind of depends. But today I got to spend all morning just focusing on introducing our English topic for the week, which we'll be focusing. We're doing simple present tense for the next few days in English, if anyone was wondering. But we'll be doing the tenses for at least a few weeks. So it was nice to like have a longer amount of time to introduce it. And then we did the spelling quiz, and especially with being the first day back, I feel like it can take their minds a minute to just kind of get logged back into everything that's going on. And so it was nice to like, we basically had like 30 or 40 minutes for the spelling quiz, which takes them like 10 minutes max to do it. But then we can go over all the words, they can fix them. I can make sure that they actually fix them. There's just time and space and whatever. And then in the afternoon, we're doing data. So we're doing like tally marks and what are those things called? Bar graphs and pictograms and stuff like that. And that'll be the next like week and a half-ish, maybe a little bit more than that. And so it was nice. Sorry, my dog's out there like barking and growling at something. Anyways, so yeah, it was nice to be able to like spend the whole afternoon on that. But my counterpart will be back tomorrow. I actually haven't seen her since break was over. This break was so interesting because obviously last year it's your first break here. Like it's our first elongated break because we kind of transition into our like permanent sites where we live for the whole 2 years during a break. But then we start school in January and you're in school until about June. But last June and July, we had trainings constantly. So I was seeing people from my school, I was seeing other volunteers all the time. Like I knew that stuff was scheduled in, but like this summer or this winter, technically, I didn't see any of like people. I didn't see anyone from my school. I talked to everyone a little every now and then, but I didn't like actually really see anyone. So I'll be excited to see her tomorrow. She is probably, other than my family that I like live with, she is probably the person I'm closest to here in terms of like actual Basutu. But we see each other every day, we talk. It's kind of like having like this, not exactly a motherly figure, but not really a sister either. There's a weird combination there because obviously she's older than me, but there's not the same like difference in authority because we do teach together every day, but we also learn a lot from each other. And it's a very interesting relationship that I really value. So yeah, anyways, I'm excited to see her tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be interesting though, because we're in school for like a week basically. And then next week we have our COS conference. So COS is close of service. So it's supposed to be 2 days basically filled with like figuring out what these last months look like. We have certain like tests that we have to do for the doctors to make sure that we're healthy as we're going home. We have a last language exam that we have to take, which don't even get me started on that. I think it's a little ridiculous in my opinion, but whatever. Figuring out about like opportunities after Peace Corps, how recommendations work, what the actual like COS process will look like in December. There's some people that are extending for a third year, so they have to leave by a certain date because you're required to go home for a certain amount of time before you continue your service, whether it's in Lesotho or another country. Some people don't go directly home. Like I, as of right now, don't plan on going directly home. So if you're not going to your home of record, then Peace Corps doesn't book your ticket, but rather you get the money that would be used for the ticket and then you book your ticket yourself. There's a lot of logistics around that, and you spend like 2 days in the capital basically doing like an offboarding process. And so they have to schedule that for every volunteer, and they can't have us all there at once because it just gets overwhelming. So there's just a lot that has to be discussed, but it's only a 2-day period. And it's going to be the last time that obviously we've had people leave, I would say probably over the last like 7 months. And so 7 months to almost a year. And so obviously not all of us will be together, but this is the last time that we will all be together, guaranteed. Maybe ever again. Obviously people might get married and people get invited to weddings. Like we might all plan to do something together, but there's a lot of us. And who knows, we don't all know our next steps. So it's hard to know like what we'll really be doing. And so it's also, it's an informational time. and everything, you know, the day-to-day, like 8 to 4 for our schedule. But the rest of the time is just us spending time together because it is the last time that our cohort will all be together, which is quite weird because we don't actually leave for another like 3.5 months by the time this conference is over. Excuse me. So it's very interesting because while it's the last time we'll all be together, we're still all gonna be in the same place for another 3 months, basically. So yeah, it's just kind of weird. Just kind of weird, to be honest. But yeah, I don't really have any much to say. I just kind of wanted to give an update. Because I obviously have not been very consistent for a while, to be honest, I feel like. But whether it's that's at this point, it might not even be for other people. It's just kind of nice to know that I could have something like this to look back on, like the blog itself. And yeah. So the one weird thing though about recording yourself is because you're not really talking to anyone. I feel like that thing I just did with my eye, like that probably looks weird on camera, but to me it doesn't feel like anyone's actually watching this because I'm staring at a phone. And I talked about this in the last video that I did, but for a while I was studying abroad, I would record in photo booth just to I just needed to get things out in a verbal way. But no one was ever seeing them. So I could do whatever I wanted, as in, cry hysterically, because no one was ever going to see it. But this is being posted on the internet. And while the link is being sent to specific people, nothing is ever private, especially when it's put on the internet. But yeah, the fact that I'm going to be posting in my bonnet, I'm just thinking about the fact that although I want to teach in elementary school, and I've been reminded by my friends lately that elementary schoolers do have phones, unfortunately, crazy, and smartphones. But I'm trying to imagine teaching in high school and teaching a high school class and them doing what some of me and my friends did when we were curious about teachers and what they did in their life, especially if they were to tell us something cool. I don't know if kids. I'm 24 years old. I'm still a child, right? I feel like a child. But if a high school student, if I were a high school student and I were to hear that someone did Peace Corps and they wrote a blog about it, I would immediately be searching it up because I would just be curious. So I'm trying to imagine one day someone looking this up, an employer, and finding a YouTube video of me in my bonnet talking about my life for the last month. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I don't feel like I have any other updates. This is my house though. Cute, right? I guess I could give a slight little tour. We can see. Let's see. So, oops. Okay, let me change the view a little bit. Okay, so this is my kitchen area. My water. This is an empty gas tank. I currently still have my yoga mat out. I was trying to convince myself to stretch before I went to bed. That didn't work out very well. My laundry set up for tomorrow because I need to do some more laundry. My bed. I have 2 beds, actually. What a gift. And then this was kind of where you were sitting right here. It's my little picture wall. How cute. Yeah. Anyways, that's that. Chat later.